I would like to explain about trust finance, which can be used in many different subjects in developing economies. I think you have never heard about trust finance, so I would like to explain what trust finance is and how it can be utilized in development economies. This diagram shows infrastructure investment, such as water supply, road, railway, and so on. Middle red line shows railway, for example. If railway has been constructed, then yellow region along this railway will have positive impact by this railway, such as new residential area can be constructed and new businesses may start. Along the station, new restaurant can be opened. Even the farmers can sell their products much more fresh and much faster to cities. Infrastructure will bring big economic impact into the region. However, one of the difficulties to construct railway, road, water supply is land acquisition. In many developing countries in Asia, landowners do not want to give up their land. This land has been succeeded by my ancestors. I'm sorry I cannot sell my land. Land trust is one of the ways to mitigate these difficulties. This graph shows left-hand side is landowners, and then right-hand side is infrastructure companies such as railways. And railway company would like to develop the rail line in the cities and rural area. However, on the left-hand side, landowners do not want to sell their lands. Land trust is one of the ways to overcome these difficulties. Landowners can lease the land to infrastructure companies, and the infrastructure company will utilize those leased land for 99 years. Sometimes in Hong Kong, leasing contract is 999 years. Then landowner will sell the usage of the land and then receive annual dividends from railway companies. In the past, infrastructure companies relied on only user charges. Then it is not easy to have enough revenue. And I'm going to propose the spillover tax revenues should be shared with government and infrastructure companies. Infrastructure can create new businesses along the road, along the railway, and then new residential area can be constructed, and new businesses can sell their products by using road trucks, and then they can ship them to big cities. The new infrastructure can create big spillover impact into the region. That can create additional tax revenues compared to the past. In the past, all those additional spillover tax revenues went to the government. But I'm going to propose part of those spillover tax revenues should be returned to infrastructure companies so that they can make enough dividend to landowners. Then landowners can keep on receiving annual dividends by leasing their own land to infrastructure companies. This diagram shows one of the ways to make these lease and dividend attractive for landowners, especially between T0 and T3. First several years, infrastructure investment cannot create enough revenues, not so many users, then rate of return from infrastructure investments would have been very low. After point T3, new businesses come into the region, So their tax revenue becomes higher and higher. So in this diagram, 50% of spillover tax revenues can be shared between government and infrastructure company. Then the infrastructure company can receive user charges, which is the bottom of this diagram, green part, and 50% of spillover tax revenues. Then after point T3, those revenues will become higher and higher. And then infrastructure company has enough money to return some of their revenues to landowners. But first period of T0 to T3, after the construction and operation of few years, revenue is not enough. Then the government can pay same interest rate with government bond, which is R star, which can secure the rate of return for infrastructure company, and they have enough money to return to landowners. And land trust has been advertised in Bangladesh. This is the newspaper I wrote together with Monzur Hussain, Dr. Monzur Hussain of Bangladesh. I would like to explain about digital infrastructure and Broadband India Forum. In this photo, second from the right is President Ramachandran of Broadband India Forum. And my next right is Mr. Amitabh Kant under Prime Minister Modi. And infrastructure, digital infrastructure, is very important in India. However, their revenue comes only from user charges. They have also difficult to purchase land to constructing pole and internet linkages. So land trust is again the way to mitigate, to transfer the usage of land to these broadband companies so that they can construct broadband network into all over India. Furthermore, if spillover tax revenues could be shared between government and broadband India companies, then their revenue will become higher and user charges can be kept low. Broadband or internet can develop the region. New businesses can sell their products through internet. And big broadband network can have much more capacity compared to very small internet. And that can construct much more big businesses into the region, and that can create much further economic growth into the region. So again, the land trust and return 50% of spillover tax revenues created by Broadband India network will be used efficiently to return the dividends to landowners. Next example is agricultural land trust. In case of Japan, after World War II, many small landowners can start cultivating their land. So it is very good to use their own land. However, scale economy cannot be enjoyed. So, and also these landowners are now working in the cities, so they don't want to cultivate their own land so much. Then these land can be transferred to big farmland, like in this bottom part of the picture. Then company can develop these agricultural huge space so that cost reduction and also improvement of efficiency. Then on the top, small landowners who are now working in the factory or other places can receive annual rent from this big agricultural company. And in this case, land trust is used between those large agricultural company and small landowners. And trust bank is in between agricultural farmers and large agricultural company. And trust bank will secure the proper dividend can be returned to agricultural farmers who used to own the land. So land trust is very important to improve of efficiency and land use. So this diagram shows on the right hand side, small scale landowners used to cultivate their own piece of land. However, many those small landowners have opportunity to work outside of this agricultural farm. Then land trust is used, and on the left hand side, agricultural company who is operating by using tractor can cultivate all these small piece of land and make it much larger scale. And trust bank is in between landowners and large-scale agricultural company. So they are neutral and then return proper dividends to small landowners. The same thing can be applied to constructing a commercial building and apartment building. There are lots of small landowners. However, they are not well utilized. And if the land is closer to the city, then big commercial building can be constructed, or tall apartment can be constructed. Then these small landowners will lease these land to apartment company. Then the apartment company can construct tall building which can have many rooms. And these small landowners have two options. One is lease these land to apartment company or commercial building company, and they can receive annual dividend outcome from those revenues. Or these small landowners can have equivalent transaction to the apartment on the right hand side, so they can own the room. Or if they are doing some business, they can start their own business at the first floor of new apartment building or commercial building. In these cases, land trust is used, and trust bank is standing in between small landowners and apartment company or commercial building operators. So this can smoothen the land transfer, and apartment can be constructed and the land is efficiently used. Next one is financing for startup businesses, hometown investment trusts or hometown crowdfunding. Traditionally, money went to deposits in regional banks or city banks, and then banks made loans to businesses, and that is the top figure. But investment trust or trust is the bottom figure, and these goes as a regional funds, and then they utilize those money for startup businesses and riskier businesses, and it is called hometown crowdfunding. And startup businesses are often very difficult to borrow money from ordinary banks because they have no experiences. And riskier businesses, they are also difficult to borrow money from regional banks. Then investment trust is one of the ways to finance those startup businesses or riskier borrowers. And similar kind of risky borrowers are solar power and wind power. But because of environmental issues, green technology and green electricity supply is needed. Then small investors into the region get together. Then they will contribute their money as a green fund on the top, and then provide to construct these wind power or solar power into the region. So contributors contribute in case of Japan $100, $200. In other countries, each individual can have much smaller amount of money. But if 200 people get together, then one wind power can be constructed, or a big solar power panel can be constructed in the village and their residents, and that can supply enough electricity into the region. So the revenue comes to this electricity supply, and that can be distributed to investment trust owners. Hometown crowdfunding can supply their money to startup businesses. And startup businesses often produce very nice products. However, they do not know how to advertise their products. Recently, internet sales are becoming more active in many developing countries. And these internet companies are in between, on the right-hand side, consumers, and left-hand side, producers, which includes startup businesses. And startup businesses can advertise their products through internet. And these internet sales companies are regulated by FSA, financial service agencies, or other developing countries, central bank can regulate these internet companies so that startup businesses can sell their products to consumers, and these internet companies secure the revenues for those startup businesses. If the products are very good, then repeated customers come to their products, and startup businesses can have continuous revenues. So these are another investment trust which can supply their money to new startup businesses. And I hope my brief explanation about trust finance, including hometown investment trust funds, would be very helpful for you to understand the importance of trust financing. And thank you very much for listening to my short presentation.